and it will take about 15-20 seconds. So we are live now.
So should I start?
No, just wait.
So good afternoon to all of you on the 10th lecture of the weekly lecture series launched jointly by AMI Chandigarh Unit and Department of Microbiology, Punjab University. And we have with us Dr. Amulya Panda, Director, National Institute of Immunology, New Delhi, and the speaker for today's program. Dr. Prince Sharma, Professor, Department of Microbiology, Punjab University, Dean, Faculty of Science, Punjab University, and President of Chandigarh Unit of AMI. Dr. Kusam Hazai, Chairperson, Department of Microbiology, Punjab University. Dr. Naveen Gupta from Department of Microbiology, Punjab University, who is also the General Secretary of Chandigarh Unit of AMI, the members of AMI, and the other participants who have joined live on Facebook. Let's start today's program with the welcome address. So I invite Professor Prince Sharma to formally welcome the speaker along with the other participants. So Professor Prince Sharma, please.
Thank you, Dr. Soni. Good afternoon to everybody. It's a great pleasure for me and for all the members of Association of Microbiologists of India and all the staff and the research scholars and the students of the Department of Microbiology. Welcome Dr. Amulya Panda, Director, National Institute of Immunology and officiating Director of NABI and CIAP and member of many boards. And we are very happy that he has kindly consented us to give a talk in the 10th webinar talk in this AMI Chandigarh Unit and Department of Microbiology Punjab University Association. So I welcome Dr. Panda and I welcome all the people who have just joined and who will be the listeners to this 10th webinar lecture. This is a webinar series which the AMI unit and the Department of Microbiology, they have jointly been organizing. So over to Dr. Soni. After this welcome, let Dr. Soni speak now.
So now I invite Dr. Naveen Gupta, General Secretary, AMI Chandigarh Unit, to introduce the theme of today's lecture. Dr. Naveen, please.
You have to, Dr. Naveen, you have to unmute yourself.
So I once again welcome everybody on behalf of AMI Chandigarh Unit. Regarding the theme of today's lecture, basically we are having this lecture series to introduce the various research topics of interest to various students, faculty, and public at large. And lots of things are being debated regarding vaccine development and all that, but lots of challenges have to be faced. I don't think there is anybody best than Dr. Panda to give us a brief about those challenges and the developments. Some people are saying that we are talking a lot about vaccine, why we are not able to provide COVID vaccine and all that. I will only say it is a long way to go. We have to have these continuous discussions like in these types of lectures so that we can come to some conclusions. It reminds me of one of my couplet, मैं अकेला ही चला था घर से, काफिला बनता गया, एक दिन मंजिल मिल गई. So if we will keep on having such discussions with learned people like Dr. Kusam Panda and others, definitely we will, once we will develop a vaccine for this COVID also and regarding other diseases also. So I welcome Dr. Panda to this lecture and I just over to Dr. Soni for further development.
Thank you, Dr. Naveen. Now it is time to introduce the speaker to the audience. And to do the honor, I invite Dr. Prince Sharma to introduce Dr. Amulya Panda and invite him for the lecture. Dr. Prince, please.
But it's really our pleasure, Dr. Panda, to have you here and just your brief introduction to the people the listeners who have joined us for your lecture. Let me talk about read about Dr. Panda's CV. Dr. Panda has done MTech from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and his PhD was from Indian Institute of Technology, New Delhi. He has been a visiting scientist to University of California at Berkeley, USA, and Nebraska Medical Center, Omaha, in USA. Dr. Panda has a keen interest in the fermentation research, and he has a fermentation research experiences on yeast, fungus, plant cells, animal cells, insect cells, hybridoma, viruses, and recombinant E. coli for the production of various biochemicals. He has a great experience in high throughput refolding and purification of the recombinant proteins from E. coli. And he has significantly contributed towards the growth of plant cells in bioreactors for the production of secondary metabolites. And he reported for the very first time the high cell density recombinant fermentations from India. And he has reported the highest amount of recombinant protein expressions among the earliest Indian studies starting from 1999. And he has done a lot of work on the refolding methods of the proteins. He has been awarded the Young Asian Biotechnology Prize for the from the Society of Biotechnology Japan for this work, and he has the credentials of generating the highest number of IPRs while working at National Institute of Immunology. So he has a great interest in high throughput folding and purification of recombinant proteins from E. coli and development of vaccine formulations using biodegradable polymer particles. He has about 145 research publications to his credit, 35 patents. I mean, listen to this, that is a great achievement, 35 patents, 75 research presentations, technologies developed, 17 technologies have been developed, and he has been invited over 100 times, more than 100 times he has given invited talks. He has various awards and fellowships to his credit, like Dr. G.V. Manjrekar Award of the Association of Microbiologists of India, Tata Innovation Fellowship, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. Research group awarded His research group was awarded third prize at the World Innovation Summit at Barcelona, Spain, and his research group was also awarded second prize at the Intel US Berkeley Technology Entrepreneurship Challenge US Berkeley in USA. He has been awarded Young Asian Biotechnology Prize from the Society for Biotechnology Japan, and awarded DVT Overseas Associateship to work at Nebraska Medical Center, Omaha, USA. He has been awarded Excellence in Scientific Achievements from the National Institute of Immunology and Biotech Product and Process Development and Commercialization Award by the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. He has been awarded Samantha Chandrasekhar Award by the Odisha government, and he has also been awarded the Best Scientific Work Leading to the Product from the NII Delhi. He has been the past president of the Association of Microbiologists of India. Several credentials to his credits. I mean, he's an accomplished scientist. But to me, above all these credits and awards, he is a great human being. He is a great philanthropist. He is a great friend to all of us. I mean, he helped us in our research work when he was not knowing me. And I have a great appreciation in his philanthropy that he's doing science not only for himself, but he is contributing to the science of other people also. He's that's the story of a true scientist actually, when he's not doing the science for just his own credentials, but for helping others also. So it's a great opportunity for us that Dr. Panda is here with us today, and he's ready to, and is very kindly consented to give a talk in our this weekend series lecture of the Association of Microbiologists Chandigarh chapter. I welcome you again, Dr. Panda, and invite you for your lecture. Dr. Soni?
Okay. So,
You can share that, Panda, please.
okay, I will start.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Okay, thank you very much to all of you, Dr. Soni, Dr. Prince, Naveen. I don't see Parvin Rishi or I don't see Professor Chibbar and many of. I mean, Punjab University microbiology is like home to me, and I cannot say no to you people. I'm so lucky that I have been grown and seen for last 10 years with AMI. So with this, again thank you very much. थोड़ा ज़्यादा ही बोल दिया आप लोग मेरी तारीफ में. So but I will start my talk. Let me share my screen. ये कहाँ गया यार?
It's at the bottom.
नो शेयर में तो किया है, बट योर एंटायर स्क्रीन, ये तो पहले था।
हाँ, अब आएगा।
नहीं, मेरा स्क्रीन कहाँ गया? तो कुछ गड़बड़ हो गया, रुक जाओ।
Now stop sharing.
हम्म,
You can stop sharing. There is a button at the bottom. Stop sharing. Yeah.
ओके, मैं दोबारा करता हूँ, एक मिनट पहले तो किया था।
उसको ओपन करिए।
हाँ, वो उसको ओपन करता हूँ।
हाँ जी, हाँ।
कहाँ गया? ये एंटायर स्क्रीन करना है ना?
Yeah.
ये हो क्यों नहीं रहा?
Have you opened the presentation?
एक मिनट, हाँ मैंने प्रेजेंटेशन तो ओपन किया है।
Now share.
कैन यू सी दिस?
No.
ओके, एक मिनट। शेयर द स्क्रीन एंड इसमें क्या है? एप्लीकेशन विंडो है, क्रोम टैब?
एप्लीकेशन पे चलेगा। एप्लीकेशन।
हाँ, आ गया।
Yeah.
आ गया। Has it come?
Yes.
So I can start?
Yeah.
Yes, you can stop. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for giving this opportunity. What I'll do is I'll talk in these four things. As I told earlier to Professor Sharma, this will be a brief talk mostly on to the students. It's to understand why it is difficult to make vaccine. So what I'll do is I'll give a brief talk about history of vaccine. I know all of you know, but it's important to understand how vaccine came, and it's important to understand how difficult it is, so then we know. And having said that, we must know how vaccine works. We know, but we must know how successful vaccine works, because that gives you an idea how corona vaccine will come. And before you develop a corona vaccine, it is very, very essential to understand what is this coronavirus. It's a 7 months, 8 months old virus. You must understand its immunobiology. And finally, I'll talk about some of the candidate vaccine which everybody you are talking. So I will be talking mostly on these four areas. And to begin with, the history and how successful vaccine may be very preliminary thing for most of the faculty, but I think this is the first 2 points are mostly for the students. Please bear with me. Let me tell you, it is said, if you don't breathe 2 minutes, you will die. If you don't drink water, in maybe in 1 month you will die. If you don't take vaccine, you will die next season. And we all know we are alive because we have taken in childhood DT, TT, pertussis, measles, everything. And vaccine is one of the cheapest healthcare intervention. In fact, and it has been used for last four centuries. You know, ever since Edward Jenner has developed this, we have been working. And there are 300 odd vaccines are available for 80 pathogens, including the veterinary vaccines. The most important thing about vaccine and drug is you feel sick, you take drug. But vaccine is always given to a healthy person, to a child. So safety is more important. And mostly it works on antibody response, antibody principle. You inject something, it produces antibody, it neutralizes. Even though we talk of T cell vaccine, till there is no much successful T-cell vaccine. But the most important characteristic of vaccine, I tell you, even though they have been used for last 400 years, till today, there is no single resistance reported for vaccine. Sulfur drugs has come and gone, antibiotics have come and gone, biologics are becoming ineffective, but in last 400 years, the same vaccine is working. That is the beauty of vaccine. The vaccine which my grandfather took for tetanus, my granddaughter or grandson will take that for tetanus. It takes time to develop a vaccine, but once you develop, it works for 100 years or more. That's why the safety is important. And just to give an idea how vaccine started, it started during 12th, 13th, 14th century. In fact, the vaccine concept was in India, the Pandit, the Vaids, they were using vaccine as tikas. But actually the first successful vaccine came in 1796 with smallpox, Edward Jenner, then Louis Pasteur developed the rabies vaccine, then come cholera vaccine, whole cell vaccine, toxoid vaccine, cell culture vaccine, inactivated polio vaccine. Around 70s, the polysaccharide-based vaccine came, glycoconjugate vaccine came, recombinant vaccine came, therapeutic vaccine came. Now vaccines are using reverse vaccinology. So almost 400 years of history. There are many people who are involved in vaccine development, Louis Pasteur, as well as Edward Jenner and many things, but I give credit to one person. His name is Maurice Hilleman. He is called vaccine magician because he has developed, while working for Merck, has developed 40 vaccines. Measles, mumps, hepatitis, and somebody say he alone has saved more life than any other single person in the earth. In fact, Merck has started Maurice Hilleman Research Center. One of them is in Delhi, Jamia Ahmedabad, but he is the vaccine magician. And in fact, if you read his biography, he has developed vaccine for most of the disease except the flu virus. And it is a very nice way somebody can read how the flu virus fooled him, even the greatest vaccine developer. The coronavirus is nothing but a very, very, very dangerous flu virus. But anybody want to know, it is nice to read who is this Maurice Hilleman, the vaccine magician. And you know how does the vaccine work? You have a live or inactivated substance, the same pathogen, you inactivate, immunize, and you produce antibody. And if the antibody is there, next time the person is infected or face the organism, the antibody is again there, comes out very rapidly because of memory antibody response, and how the vaccination, that's how the vaccination works. In fact, the old age concept of developing vaccine is triple I: isolate, inactivate, immunize. Isolate, inactivate, and immunize. That's the old vaccine, the way you make. Like the Covaxin, the Bharat Biotech is developing for coronavirus is isolate the virus, inactivate, and immunize. And basically how it works, a little bit of complexity. You immunize, it go to a antigen presenting cell, it is present, process. Ultimately, it's the antibody secreting plasma cell which is responsible. And antibody is nothing but a glycoprotein of Y structure. But till now, most of the vaccine works on producing neutralizing antibody. See, the moment you immunize the antigen, it gets the final signal, it goes to the B cell. B cell get help from dendritic cell, giving all sort of T cell help, and finally the B cell mature to plasma cell or memory B cell, which are nothing but antibody secreting cell. This looks like a cartoon, but in the next slide, I'll tell you, actually, the antibody producing cells are produced in germinal center. This is important because all vaccine goes to the lymph node. Inside the lymph node, they activate germinal center, they activate B cell proliferate, there is somatic hypermutation that leads to secretion of plasma and memory cell. And because of this plasma and memory B cell, we have a circulating antibody. That's why many vaccine, they work lifelong, because we have plasma cell and memory cell. So one of the requirement of vaccine is, apart from producing neutralizing antibody, it should produce plasma cell or memory cell, so that next time when you get the infection, immediately the body respond and produce neutralizing antibody. If something goes wrong in germinal center, it is chances that you may develop a vaccine, but you may not get the memory, so you will not be protected again. This is important. So how does vaccine work? In fact, it has 4 things. In old days, vaccine was only a live cell or a live attenuated cell or a killed cell. But slowly as the molecular biology developed, immunology developed, then we realized vaccine is an antigen. It produces 2 things, neutralizing antibody and memory antibody. But then if you see, vaccine only successfully works where the antigen is constant, like DT, TT, hepatitis, or pertussis, the antigenic component is fixed. If the antigen keep on changing, like antigen can be shift and drift, shift is shifting the position, drift is drifting the different species. Like you think like the HIV virus, it keeps changing the antigen, it mutates every day. That's why we have not been successful in developing HIV vaccine. The common flu virus, that mutate every year. That's why we have a vaccine every year, seasonal flu. The FMD vaccine, you don't get memory. So apart from vaccine and antigen, you need adjuvant. Adjuvant is something which improves the immunogenicity. Remember drugs, when you take drug goes and work in the body with receptor, but for an antigen to be a vaccine, it needs processing and presentation and adjuvant help. Of late, what people have told, apart from vaccine, the antigen, the adjuvant, what is important is the way the antigen is released, because that dominates the germinal center and somatic hypermutation. If kinetics of release is not proper, if it doesn't activate germinal center, the chances that you get neutralizing antibody, but you will not get memory antibody. I just give you an idea how the germinal center reaction form. It has light zone and dark zone, but among these, there are 3 molecules: follicular dendritic cell, FDC, follicular helper cell. These follicular dendritic cell and T helper cell helps to make plasma cell and memory cell. If this germinal reaction center is formed nicely, then only you get memory antibody. If something happens wrong with this germinal center, you may be getting antibody, but they will be short-lived. That is one reason probably is happening in corona. We'll talk about that. But what is important is antigen, the adjuvant, and the kinetics of release for germinal center. If these 3 things happens, you will get a quality vaccine which will produce antibody as well as memory antibody response. I give this example of antibody titer of a smallpox vaccine. So smallpox is almost eradicated. Look at the x-axis. It is not antibody titer in weeks, days, or months. It is years. You see, somebody was immunized and his blood was taken and analyzed for neutralizing antibody. Look at the x-axis. For 60 years, the antibody titer remains same. We all would like to have any vaccine for tuberculosis, malaria, cancer, HIV. Take a single dose, get neutralizing memory antibody, but that's ideal condition. That doesn't happen everywhere, but it happened in some smallpox. So the point is, learn how smallpox gives this lifelong immunity. Maybe smallpox vaccination is live attenuated, is continuously keep on replicating, providing antigen and doing all sort of things. Remember, initially the whole cell was used as a vaccine. When the new biology come, we thought antigen is the only thing which is needed to make neutralizing titer. But after that, we then realized there are not only antigen, the associated molecule, the signals, the TLRs are important. That's why the whole cell vaccine are the most successful vaccines. This is a table I always give. This is by Rolf Zinckernagel. Just give an example why the vaccine works. And this is important to understand why corona vaccine is so much of controversial. If you look at the left-hand side, these are successful vaccines: smallpox, polio, rubella, tetanus, because they are protected by only neutralizing antibody. You immunize antigen, you immunize vaccine, they grow through MHC class 2 presentation, they produce antibody, you are protected. These measles, mumps, RSV, they are satisfactory. They are not completely protecting because Apart from neutralizing antibody, you need T cell. And remember, T cell response come only when the antigen or the candidate vaccine enters cells, intracellular. That's why people are using DNA RNA vaccine nowadays. But you see the right hand side, these are not successful vaccine, TB, HIV, malaria, because you need activated T cell and neutralizing antibody both. It is very, very difficult in a single immunization to get both T cell and B cell. Because if you recollect your immunology, T cell and B cell are complementary to each other. They are different aspects. One is humoral, one is cellular. So unless you have a immunization profile, you have an antigen which is going inside the cell, getting present and processed, it is difficult to get T cell, B cell response. So the new modality of vaccine depends on novel delivery system where not only you make a good vaccine, but you can deliver them. Probably then only you can get neutralizing antibody titers and ticks. And just to tell you, there are different type of vaccine. Kill vaccine like polio vaccine, live attenuated smallpox or sub-annual polio vaccine. Subunit vaccines are part of a recombinantly produced or peptide vaccine like hepatitis B. Bacterial toxoids are the toxins inactivated. Conjugate vaccines are carbohydrate and protein conjugated vaccine. DNA vaccine are DNA virus-like particle like VLP or viral-like vectors are used to mimic or as a decoy particle to enter. Remember, in most of this type of vaccine, the vaccine formulation is particulate. It's a particulate nature. It is not a soluble antigen because soluble antigen will not be immunogenic because they will be presented and processed by the antigen presenting cells. And to tell you why it takes time to develop a vaccine, we may say you develop an antigen which is protective, but that is the beginning of the story. In fact, you need these 10 steps: proof of concept, expression system, process development, facility, manufacturing, supply chain, clinical assay, clinical trial, regulatory framework, marketing. These are the 10 steps. And that's why a normal vaccine development takes 10 to 15 years. Previously, you discover a disease, then you find the etiological agent, either you know the DNA or the RNA and BOG, you sequence it, you can make a preparation, immunize, do preclinical study, then do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 things. That's why it takes time, and probably that's why the corona vaccine thing is taking time. And more importantly, it's not about antibody response or immunogenicity, it is about safety. You may develop a vaccine which will make antibody, but if the antibody go and do something in your brain or in your liver or your heart, you end up doing something else. So that has to be studied very carefully. In fact, in most of the time, once you do animal study, you do a teratology to know whether the vaccine has any effect to the next generation. That's why vaccine takes time. So that's why I told it's very simple but very complex. In 85 HIV vaccine, people claim that they will make HIV vaccine. 36 years has gone. We don't know. Recently, we came to know what is neutralizing antibody titers. 1943, the dengue case report, it took almost 70 years to develop a vaccine. Just like coronavirus, 10, 12 years back, both SARS and MERS. SARS and MERS are the other three coronavirus which create respiratory disease. We don't have a vaccine yet. Flu vaccine is still seasonal every year. The only light of the day is mumps vaccine. It was developed in 4 years. We hope within 2 years, 1 year is already gone, by next year we will have a safe and efficacious vaccine for corona. Let's see, with this I switch gear and tell what is so difficult in making coronavirus vaccine. I think it's a 7-month-old virus. We still don't know. We are all microbiologists. We still don't know. So what is needed is this 10 point. We must know what is virus, how it is causing infection, what is the innate immune response, because that's how the body takes, what is T cell response, what is the antibody response, is there antibody dependent enhancement, something like dengue, is there anything with secretory immunoglobulin, what are the clinical and immunological spectrum. You must have heard about, please see, in the last 6 months when the coronavirus came, people thought it is because of pneumonia. because everybody was dying because of pneumonia. There was a lot of ventilation. Then they realized it is a cytokine storm. Then they realized it's thrombosis. I'll show you some graph. Now the latest is the pathological conditions are entirely different. Somebody is getting renal problem, somebody is getting problem in liver, somebody is getting in heart, somebody is getting maybe in brain. And then ninth thing is cytokine and inflammatory. And the most important thing is immunosenescence. Please remember, as a human being, we evolved. We evolved along with the virus. This human body has evolved to live maybe 70 years. After 40, 50 years, 60 years, the immunological thing, the brain power, the digestive power all slow down. And that slow down our immunity power. That's called immunosenescence. So our immunity became weak. We don't produce antibody, we don't produce T cell. That's why maybe one of the reasons why many people are dying who are old people. This virus is affecting so much to the vital organs. People are dying because old people have lower immunity. I think unless you understand all of them, it is difficult, because it's something like unless you know where you are going, it doesn't matter whether you are running or jumping. We must know what is the real etiology, what is the clinical symptom. I'll just tell you what little is known in the last 7 months, and that's the real hurdle. Please remember, this is a respiratory virus, something like MERS and CORS. MERS and or SARS-CoV, which came in 2002. You may develop a vaccine, it may produce antibody, but if the antibodies are destructive to your respiratory system, you die. In fact, the same thing happened when they developed a vaccine for respiratory syncytial virus. They developed a whole cell virus vaccine. They immunized, all children died because of the immunoinflammation. I think these are needed, and that's why we are taking time. What I'll do is I'll show you some of the problems of coronavirus, and then maybe I'll talk about the vaccine. So this is the SARS-CoV-2. It is similar to SARS-CoV, which come in 2002, but they all go through ACE2 receptor. I don't have to tell them. They have S1 unit, S1 unit. They have many other things, and it looks like a corona. And what is important is, apart from ACE2 receptor, it needs temprase. So this temprase is a ligand to a drug, like camostat, mercelet, or naponstat can stop it. So either you stop ACE2 receptor or the temprase, you can stop entry of this virus to the cell. In fact, most of the efforts is nowadays going on how to stop the entry of virus through ACE2 receptor or through temprase. Temprase is done by putting a drug. ACE2 receptor is by monoclonal antibody. If you raise a monoclonal antibody against the spike protein will be neutralized and that will not enter. This is exactly what happens. This virus enters the cell, and once it through temprase, the virus enters the cell and produce viral RNA, and once it goes inside the cell, it starts multiplying. But what it does is, because of this virus nature, it starts producing a lot of cytokine, IL-6, MIP, IPL-6, and that is leaking to the vasculature and cause a lot of damage in vascular permeability and do a lot of cytokine stuff. The other way, it goes and do all sort of things and it produces antibody. Basically, what I want to say is, this virus, apart from entering the epithelial cell, it produces immune response, but most importantly, the inflammation it causes, these cytokines, they go and cause inflammation and dysfunction of immune system, and they do systemic dysregulation of many functions that causing morbidity. So anybody who want to treat the symptoms or the morbidity associated with coronavirus should have two things. It produces neutralizing antibody so that it doesn't enter. Having entered, it should stop secreting or producing these inflammatory T cells so that the other organs are not inflamed. And to tell you, initially it was only the lungs. Now the recent report last month it has come, it affects neuron, it affects renal system, hepatic system, gastrointestinal, dermatological, endocrine, cardiac, thrombometabolic. It's everywhere. In fact, it weakens the body system like anything. And what is little known, like if you have a coronavirus coming, you get IgM, which is the first antibody, but you get IgG. But you don't know after 21 days whether there will be memory cell or neutralizing antibody. What is mostly getting reported that even those who are infected and recovered, the neutralizing antibody titer rise, but it comes down. That means there is no memory response coming up. And only those who are critically ill, they have a good antibody titers. That means this virus has a property that it doesn't lead to production of antibody once it infects. Only critically ill patient where the virus load is heavy, that goes inside and produce. That nobody understands till now. So the question which our immunologists are asking is someone who has recovered is protected like any other vaccine. You take a vaccine, you feel good, but there are reports people are getting reinfected. How long the immunoprotection lasts? Nobody knows. Why the disease is so much severely in elderly? Maybe the immune system is low. How does the immune system response against SARS-CoV-2 contribute to the disease development? There is no pathogenic response. Can there be immunology? In fact, the most important thing is till now, we don't know actually what is the correlate of protection. I'll talk about that. So with this, all this complexity, it is really, really difficult. Unlike other pathogen, will there be a successful vaccine? In fact, having said that, people have been working on vaccine development. People are making RNA vaccine, DNA vaccine, recombinant vaccine, vector vaccine, inactivated vaccine, live activated vaccine. But let me tell you, whatever vaccine you have, whether RNA, DNA, they will go through all these steps. Somebody will clone, somebody will express, somebody will do large-scale production, somebody will do analytical development, somebody will do preclinical test. That is over. Then goes to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Most of the vaccines are in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Once you get phase 3, which gives you the immunogenicity and safety profile as well as the efficaciousness in large population, it goes to FDA, regulatory production, then large-scale production, stability, safety, then you get it. That's why it takes such a long time. In fact, if you see the 4 or 5 major vaccines, there are almost 200 vaccines who are in different stages of clinical trial. If you see the most major vaccine, live attenuated vaccine, like Covaxin or the Chinese vaccine, viral vector-based vaccine, this is the Oxford vaccine, recombinant protein-based vaccine. There is one Novavax vaccine which is using recombinant protein, the DNA vaccine of Innovio, and the mRNA vaccine of Moderna. All of them are packed, they are injected, they go to naive T cell, B cell, and then they produce antibody, and that antibody helps. This is what the common mechanism is. And if you see the list, these are the people who have been in the advanced stage. In fact, I tell you, till last week, I think 180 vaccine candidates are in trial. Out of them, 6 have come to phase 2 trials, human trial. In fact, these are the 5 vaccine which has come to very advanced stage. One is RNA-based vaccine, Moderna. It is developed by NIH and MIT. This is published in July, New England Journal of Micromedicine. DNA vaccine, it's again a US-based vaccine of Innovio. They have published their phase 2, phase 1 data in Nature Communication. Viral vector-based vaccine, the famous Oxford-based vaccine, which is being promoted by Serum Institute India. The data has published in Lancet. Then the inactivated vaccine, Sinovac. In fact, China has made this vaccine and he has given to the soldiers. And we have the inactivated vaccine, Covaxin, called Bharat Biotech and ICMR. What they have done is they have taken the virus strain, which they isolated from a patient in early May, inactivated it, did all preclinical talks and give. But let me tell you, all of them have shown only immunogenicity and neutralizing antibody titer. The real test of a vaccine is in phase 3 trial with huge number of people and probably, I'm saying probably, in an endemic population where people are coronavirus, or develop a challenge model. Nobody has developed a human challenge model. The proof of pudding is in eating. You challenge a human like you do with other vaccine who is infected then only you know the virus is working. And you never know whether the virus will mutate. And even though we are talking of this RNA vaccine, DNA vaccine, Oxford vaccine, or the inactivated vaccine, nobody has shown memory antibody response, because memory needs 6 months titer. And all the immunological experiments start in April. Maybe at the end of November, December, we'll know whether the memory is coming. If touching one memory antibody response comes, that may be one of the most successful. But other thing, for the first time, see, till now, for each disease, we have only one vaccine, whether it is TT, DT, hepatitis. Here, for the first time, for the same virus, for one disease, we may have multiple vaccines. A DNA vaccine may work, or a RNA vaccine may work, or a protein vaccine may work, or an inactivated vaccine may work. We don't know. This is how the Covaxin, which we are talking about, Bharat Biotech, how the inactivated vaccine is produced in China. You have the virus seed, it is grown in vero cell culture. When the vero cell growth is there, the virus is inactivated by propiolactin. You inactivate the virus, you do buffer exchange, you put benzonase, you put the stabilizer, concentrate ultrafiltration, remove the filter through size exclusion. You could see the virus particle is there, put aluminum hydroxide as an adjuvant and immunize. In fact, these are the steps goes on. So now, in spite of that, what is the information on vaccine immunity? Vaccine immunity is short-lived. It's very strange. We don't know. Unlike other vaccine, we immunize, you get a long-lasting antibody titer. Till now, the vaccine immunity is only short-lived. You immunize after 2 doses, maybe after 2 months, the antibody titer immunogenicity is coming down. What is strange is people who have recovered from COVID without going to hospital has no IgG in the serum. I don't know how they are getting protected. People are now talking something like in physics, you have a dark matter, a new term has come, immunological dark matter. People have observed, you give vaccine, he doesn't get pneumonia, but virus is there. It doesn't infect him, but he is a carrier. He is a asymptomatic carrier. He can use the virus. And all these strange things are happening. But the only hope that let's think that the virus doesn't mutate and become more infectious. In fact, DBT has done a isolation and screening of and sequencing of almost 1,400 viruses isolated from Odisha, West Bengal, Northeast, South India, Maharashtra, and they have found different strain and things. I think once the detailed information comes, you will be able to tell whether the virus is weakening, or if the virus is weakening, has the Wuhan virus has become an Indian virus. Then it will be nice to use that to make a vaccine. And what is the real challenge? Real challenge is, these are different stages of vaccine development, preclinical, manufacturing, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. The real thing is clinical assay, like most of us are doing now. We still don't know. WHO has not yet specified what is the correlate of protection, what is the bioneutralizing titer. Is it antibody based, it is IgG based, or IgA based, or it is T cell response. We are still debating. And finally, what will be the safety, efficacy, and regulatory when you apply with huge population having genetic diversity? Then the efficacy will come. But I will touch upon small problems which are coming up because of this coronavirus. The real problem with coronavirus is not about getting antibody, about the pathology associated with the antibody. We have ADE, antibody dependent enhancement. What happened? This low quality antibody, they bind through the Fc receptor and enter the cell. That helps in entering the virus. So if you have antibody dependent enhancement, then you will be allowing the virus maybe to enter your cell rather than neutralizing it. In other way, you will be improving the infection. And the other is VARID. VARID is vaccine associated enhanced respiratory disease. VARID means when you immunize with this virus, apart from it releasing antibody, this virus cause a different type of immunopathology. like it produce allergic inflammation, it produce Th2 bias immune response, it cause a lot of cytokine storm. So all these things need to be analyzed. It may be producing neutralizing antibody, but if you start doing T cell mediated response both in antibody variant, both in B cell and D cell, that will be highly that will lead to pathological condition which may not be required. So vaccine associated disease, both ADE and variant are two concerns. The second concern is, I'm just giving this came in last month immunity. You see the right hand side. The people who are getting antibody and T cell, look at the donors exposed mild. Only in severe cases we have T cell and antibody parallel. Asymptotic exposed, the antibody high titer is low, the T cell titer is also there is a difference. Only when you have mild or severe infection, the antibody T cell and T cell response and antibody titer is same, indicating that for the first time we need both T cell response and antibody response. Finally, this has come last week, but it shows that this virus doesn't produce germinal center. If you remember, I showed you formation of germinal center. Is it okay? Hello?
Hello. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, I'll continue. So if you disturb, so this is the last report which has come. SARS, this virus spoiled the germinal center. That means it is hitting the germinal center. That means it will not produce memory antibody. If that comes true, then we have to take every year. Remember, you have to give 1.2 billion people every year. That will be simply impossible. We may not have that much of syringe and needles and vials for that. Forget about vaccine and cost. So this is a trend. But we have some hope. We are using these antivirals. These are the available treatment. Remdesivir, we are taking chloroquine and other things which disrupt the lysosome. We give cytokines, we give a recombinant monoclonal antibody, tocilizumab, sarilizumab. These are basically cetuximab. These are human monoclonal antibody reducing cytokine storm. We give convalescent plasma also. The problem with convalescent plasma is it contains a lot of other things. So that's why WHO has not approved. But convalescent plasma is certainly one option. But the best option will be in the convalescent plasma, you purify the intravenous IgG and do the treatment. So the other immunotherapeutic approach which has come is antibody to ACE2, the temperance antibody, the CD8 response, the pro-inflammatory cytokine removal. If you do all these things, one antibody, the temperance, pro-inflammatory cytokine, CD8 response, probably the chances that you will go. But till that time, we develop an antibody, we understand the T cell response, we understand the role of pre-inflammatory cytokine. The only way is use mask, obey social distancing, and take care of yourself till that time. So to end, what we have learned, respect all life beings. It's a small virus. We should invest on healthcare, science, and quality education. Family values are important. Family cultures are important. That makes us more immunologically strong. And block transmission, mask, physical distance, cleanliness. And please remember, this world is not only for human beings. The world is only for all other living organisms. That's what we have been told, Vasudevam Kutumbakam. We have to understand the importance of everybody. It's something like that. The tiger lives in jungle. If you clean the jungle and make malls in the jungle, where the poor tiger will go? It will come and roam around in our cities. Same thing has happened to this virus. It lives in bad gut. We all talk about gut microbiology, but we didn't understand every animal has also a gut. Every animal has a gut microbiome. This virus was living in the gut of bats. And we started killing bats and eating them. So where this virus will go? It has mutated, and it has entered the human system. Before I end, because we are a microbiologist, let me tell you, these are the estimated species in diverse. I am sure we know. Look at the lower one, viruses. We know only the total 4%. You see, we are all microbiologists. Look at Bryophyta, fungi, bacteria. How much little we know about bacteria. We know about animals, plants. How much little we know about bacteria and viruses. There are 1 million species of virus. We only know only 4% of virus. There are 7 coronaviruses. 4 are non-infectious, 3 are infectious, 1 is SARS, 1 is MERS, 1 is COVID-2. Think one small virus, 150 nanometer virus, has caused so much of havoc. If all these organisms, are there, I changed. It will be really, really difficult to. Can I see now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I think
Yes.
I don't know what happened. I did something. That's what I want to end. I am done, and maybe 1 minute. 1 minute.
You please do the stop sharing.
Yeah, I'll do that. You can ask question. No. Okay. Okay, I can stop sharing. And I just want to know. Thank you very much. You can ask me a question now.
Thank you, Dr. Panda, for a nice presentation.
No, I'll stop sharing. Okay. Right?
So thank you, Dr. Panda, for the nice presentation overviewing the history of vaccines, types of vaccines, immunobiology of COVID-19, and problems and risks associated with COVID-19 vaccine development. The lecture has been well responded on the Facebook, and I'm sure this might have added to the awareness of the audience. We have several queries from our participants. I'll take a few of these and coordinate a discussion session with the speaker. So the first question is from.
मैं देखा क्यों नहीं दे रहा हूँ?
No, you are visible.
आप हमें दिख रहे हो, sir.
So we have a first question from Dr. Karthik Karan. What is the involvement of gut microbiome in COVID infection?
Somebody is asking that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Dr. Karthik Karan. He is a scientist from Navi, Mohali.
I know Kanti. Okay. Professor Chandra का student है, microbiologist है. Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Not much is known, but let me share you some unpublished information. I have a student working in Mount Sinai. Please remember, there is a corona vaccine available for dogs and cats. I don't know whether you know it. There is a approved corona vaccine available for dogs and cats for gastroenteritis. That means if the pet has dysentery, this coronavirus in pets cause dysentery, it disturbs. But what people have now understood, it has not been published, in the gut microbe, if you look at the colon, there is a lot of SC2 receptor. But somehow it is very strange, this gut microbe has the capacity to neutralize. What happens, what a correlation is coming, people who have got severe dysentery and stomach upset during COVID infection are mostly protected. That means there is something in the gut which causes digestion, indigestion, gastrointestinal problem, but that leads to protection. This is coming up. Hopefully next month it will be published. But certainly it is a good question. There is chances that gut microbe is doing a role, and that will be interesting to come. Okay.
So we have another question from Mr. Rahul, a PhD student from Department of Microbiology. Any specific reason why no IgG is found in COVID-19 recovered people?
So I showed you the way to produce IgG for a long point is germinal center reaction, somatic hypermutation. And recently one paper has come, probably this virus is destroying the germinal center. That's why only in severe patients, some virus available. We are producing some spike in the antibody, but it is not allowing to produce memory B cell or plasma cell. And unless you have memory B cell and plasma cell, you will not get continuous IgG secretion. That's why whatever little memory antibody is coming from short lived plasma cell, they are available, but they are going down within time period.
We have another question. There are so many variants of COVID-19. Will the vaccine be a combination of different vaccines?
That is a very interesting question. As I told you, it is 7 months. We don't know the virus which is in our Indian population because it has multiplied. This virus has a capacity to multiply very rapidly in both nose and mouth. So we don't know when it is infecting and multiplying. Has it been mutated for a worse condition or a better condition? Has it become more lethal or less lethal? We still don't know. But the indication is that this is not mutating so heavily unlike HIV. So that is a good reason. But it is sure if the Indian virus has mutated, the vaccine which is available in Russia and others will not work here. You know, the sequence are different, the infectivity are different. So chances that the other vaccine which are developed for their population may not work completely in Indian population.
Thank you, Dr. Panda. So we have questions which are to be asked by Dr. Naveen Gupta. So Dr. Naveen, you can ask your questions.
Sir, I wish to ask, apart from developing a vaccine, where you see Indians' role in manufacturing a virus and manufacturing a vaccine once if it is developed by anybody.
See, Naveen, we do research, but vaccine is a game played at WHO level. They decide, company decide, because you see, you imagine anybody who will manufacture this vaccine, even in India, 1.2 billion dose, man, 100 rupees each. 1,200 billion rupees. Do you remember that amount? So everybody is competing. I don't know but we have wonderful facility. What is important is getting a quality vaccine which will protect. I think Prince wants to ask why smallpox give lifelong immunity, but why corona infection? This is same thing, Dr. Saab. The smallpox virus, number one, it doesn't mutate. It's a live virus. It is there. The antigen is available, and it produces good germinal center. It induces formation of memory B cells. This coronavirus destroy the germinal center. It doesn't produce memory B cell. That's why the antibody titer is not for lifelong. Anything more?
Yeah, sir, somewhere in your slide, if I'm right, you said that if antibody is joined to virus, it can multiply more. Am I right, sir?
That is called antibody-dependent enhancement, particularly in dengue. Actually, this is true for a disease where the disease is called by different serotype. Particularly for dengue has 4 serotypes. Dengue 1, 2, 3, 4. Suppose you develop a vaccine for dengue 2. So the antibody will bind to neutralize dengue 2. But dengue 1 and dengue 2, 3, they will be there. This antibody will not neutralize. But what will happen is this low quality, low affinity antibody will bind to dengue 2, dengue 3, and through Fc receptor, it will enter the cell. That means this antibody will allow other serotypes to enter the cell, and once the other serotype enter the cell, they will start multiplying, they will create infection. This is called antibody dependent enhancement. If that happens, till now there is no report, but if that happens, that will be dangerous. That's why making a dengue vaccine took so much year. Somebody developed dengue 1, 2, 3, 4 serotype, the antibody neutralized the most virulent serotype, but the other serotypes started entering and becoming more virulent. So that is antibody dependent immune enhancement.
Any other question? Prince, would you like?
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Saab, just another question was coming some countries like Russia, they have been developing this vaccine like Sputnik without doing much of the clinical trials. How much ethical and protective this kind of vaccines can be?
See, as I told you, every country has their right, but because of urgency, we may be shortening the trial, we may be doing, but the most important safety thing you cannot simply bypass. As I told you, you may give this vaccine, this may be protecting for coronavirus. It may be producing neutralizing antibody, but if it goes and make you deaf or make your liver damage, what you'll do? So those safety studies are absolutely essential. Even if we get this Sputnik vaccine, we have to try in Indian population because because as I told you, this is a respiratory virus. You need antibody to neutralize the virus. But if the cytokine and other immunological parameter do something harm to any of your vital organ, that is important. Without that clearance, nobody should allow the vaccine for the human beings. And please remember, what is the infection mortality rate? Very, very little, right? We are now 3 million, how many? 3 million or 4 million infection. We have 1300 million people, right? Even 5% has not been infected. You can say we don't test, there are people roaming around. You assume 10%. 90% are asymptomatic. So to put 90% into vaccine, the safety is important. I think that is important. Unless we are 100% sure the virus immunization is not doing anything harm to the immune system, it will be very, very difficult to introduce it. And please remember, we are facing problem, no doubt. This is very dangerous virus, but it is not that as dangerous like bird flu, swine flu. The mortality is very, very low, right?
Right.
If you see infection to mortality rate, that is very, very low. Even if you see case mortality rate, whoever has been infected, how many are dying? How many young people are dying? Very little. Unless the second wave come with different things, till now it is low. But that's why safety has to be taken very seriously.
Thank you, sir.
So we can take more questions.
Yeah, you ask first.
So we have a question from Mr. Ravinder Singh. I think you have already answered. Please comment on the Sputnik Russian vaccine.
No, we cannot comment because this is a wholesale vaccine. I just want to know the safety has to be measured, and being a microbiologist, we must understand the strain of Russia and strain in India are different. I believe because the way it has been mutated in our body, unless we see 100% cross reactivity, just getting a Russian vaccine, because it's a wholesale vaccine, it's a viral based vaccine. You have the virus, inactivate and immunize. Unless we know the same virus is circulating here, it will be a futile exercise. Plus safety.
So we have a last question from Mansi Chabra. Is it possible that ADE might occur in case of coronavirus? Because you said that there are 7 types of this virus, of which 3 are of pathological significance.
See, this antibody-dependent enhancement happens only if the virus has capability to infect macrophage. Till now, there is no report. Till now, there is no report of macrophage infection by this virus. It infects in different way. It enters through different way. So the chances are very, very less as on today. You never know what will happen next report come. But till that time, there is no. The 3 viruses are there. But the 3 viruses are distinct. But let me tell you something which I missed for a microbiological point of view. One very interesting observation for all of you. If you see the MERS, SARS-CoV-1, SARS-CoV-2, and the MERS is Middle East respiratory virus. SARS-CoV came through China, and this SARS-CoV-2 has come through bat, through pangolin. See, from bat, these 3 viruses has come with 3 organisms. The initial SARS come through a wild cat. The MERS virus came through camel, and this virus has come through pangolin. Please see all these three organisms, the wild cat, the pangolin, and the camel, are all extremophiles. All three of them lives in desert. Remember, all of three of them. I don't know how the virus didn't come directly. There is still country, but they have come through this organism. They have not come directly. So, and these three organisms live in high temperature. Please remember, camel, pangolin, and wild cat. They all live in desert. And I don't know how the virus has mutated. So until we know how the virus has mutated, how the sequence, how different serotypes are coming, nothing will happen. See, remember, the other four coronavirus are just flu viruses. They don't do nothing. The only advantage or the only danger with this virus is it not only affect the upper respiratory tract, it goes to the lower respiratory tract. See, other coronavirus, other flu virus, they infect us, only stays in our nose and mouth. That's why you get flu. They don't go inside the lower respiratory tract. Whereas these virus enter the respiratory tract. That is the danger.
Yeah.
So, any question, Dr. Naveen?
Yeah, sir, I wish to ask something not related to vaccine, because you are at a very senior position. You go to a lot of scientific administration also, where you see, is this pandemic going to boost microbiology research in India and in general worldwide? Will it affect?
Yes, yes. In fact, last month it has come tape for yesterday in some Punjab newspaper. I gave a talk in I think PGI. I was telling only social aspect of COVID, but this indicates how microbiology are powerful. One virus of microbes can put everybody, whether you are rich, poor, king. Amitabh Bachchan got infection, right? It doesn't differentiate. But the most important thing it has given us, treat everybody equally. I think time has come. I could see a lot of things are coming to develop virology school, virology institute, medical microbiology, microbial institute and immunology department all over the country. That is coming. In fact, there is a proposal to set up viral infection lab, viral immunology lab, or viral institutes in other places. So I will believe for most of the microbiology is there a good time, because people understood. After all, virus is a microbe, right? It can cause everything. Everybody is in their knees now. I mean, nobody is talking. Everybody now. See, in fact, if you ask me, for me personally, don't take it otherwise. एक साल पहले लोग पूछते थे मेरे को, यू आर इन नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इम्यूनोलॉजी, ये इम्यूनोलॉजी क्या होता है, ये इम्यूनिटी क्या होता है. आजकल कोई नहीं पूछता, सबको पता है इम्यूनिटी क्या है. सो जब भी मैं बोलता हूँ अब कहाँ हो, मैं नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इम्यूनोलॉजी, सब मेरे को देखते हो, इसको बहुत कुछ आता है. एटलीस्ट पीपल नो नाउ देयर इज इम्यूनोलॉजी, इम्यूनिटी. बट मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली, we must tell people the role of cleanness, culture, sterility, or even the quarantine. These are all part of our culture. हम लोग कोई पहले से जूता लेके घर में नहीं घुसते थे, पैर धोते थे. और घर में कोई मर जाता ना, 14 दिन आप अलग रहते हैं, वही तो क्वारंटाइन है. Because we know as a microbiologist, we all are born in a sterile condition, little bit of microbes from mother's womb, but when we die because of microbes, right? All pathogens. So this is an infected thing. Anybody who dies, when your own relative dies, we go to the funeral, you come, and if you're a son and your father or mother dies, you stay 14 days quarantine, right? That is in our culture. So basically, this is to avoid microbiology and to understand importance of microbiology.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
So, thank you, Dr. Panda.
Great.
Now I take the opportunity to conclude today's program. The lecture overviewed the COVID-19 infection and the need for vaccine against the same. The lecture started with the history of vaccines made the audience aware about different types of the vaccines, and also made the audience aware about immunobiology of the COVID-19 and the problem associated with the COVID-19 vaccine development, and also reviewed the risks associated with the same. So the lecture was well responded and well appreciated on the Facebook. Now, with this, we come to the end of discussion session. Now we enter the last session of today's program, that is a vote of thanks. I now invite Dr. Naveen Gupta to do the honors by delivering the vote of thanks. Dr. Naveen, please.
वो एक डॉक्टर कुसुम एक क्वेश्चन पूछा है, आंसर दे दूं?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
She is asking, basically I showed that in this slide, what this virus is doing. It is doing, this virus itself infect the basement membrane of cells and cause a lot of immunoinflammation. It produces allergy, and that allergic reaction and cytokine, that has a direct effect on eosinophil count. That's why it is coming down. In fact, eosinophil count coming shows, apart from doing what it is doing, is affecting our overall immune system, which is a very dangerous sign. Okay, you can now conclude. Thank you.
So I now invite Dr. Naveen Gupta to do the honors by delivering the vote of thanks. So Dr. Naveen,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Soni. So, we had a wonderful lecture. I have to thank lots of people. First of all, I am thankful to our Vice Chancellor, under whose umbrella we are having this lecture. And I am thankful to the President of Association of Microbiology of India, Chandigarh Unit, Professor Prince Sharma, and his whole team from Punjab University as well as from other institutes. Always been very supportive, and whole of the team has always helped us in conducting these lectures. So I'm thankful to Professor Prince and whole of his team. I'm thankful to Chairperson Professor Kusum Arjai from the Department of Microbiology, Punjab University, and his whole faculty team, under whose collaboration we are having this lecture, for all their support. Then I am thankful to all who have joined us live during this session, and in advance I also thank who are going to see a recorded version of this lecture. And I am thankful to Dr. Amulya Panda, the main person of today's lecture. Sir, it was a wonderful lecture, and you joined us, you agreed to give us lecture at very first instant. So we are really thankful to you. We had very useful discussions. You gave the first-hand account of various about the aspects of corona and other type of vaccine. I am seeing a message. Professor Sanjay Chibbar is also thanking Dr. Panda, and we, sir, so whole of our team is thankful to you for that. Now, in the last, I have to thank a person. Actually, today's vote of thanks has to be given by Professor Soni. I have taken the vote of thanks seat because I have to thank Dr. Soni. He is a real strong pillar of our AMI CU unit. He hosted today's meeting, and he has always been a big help. So I'm thankful to you, Professor Soni, for always helping us and conducting today's lecture. So once again, in the last, I am thankful to Dr. Panda for giving a wonderful lecture, and thankful to everybody. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. Nice talking. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.